We're ready when you are. Is that camera going?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I did my Unity and Diversity talk on the ABCs to CRT. And my author is Lyons. She's 69 years old, and she graduated from Stanford University. She works at the University of Wisconsin in Madison in the School of Education, and her title there is the Kellner Family Chair in Urban Education. She's also professor of Curriculum and Instruction and Education Policy Studies. So the book that I read was The Dream Keeper, Successful Teachers of African American Students. And the goal of the book was for teachers to be able to teach African American students to high levels of proficiency because they are often portrayed as problems. The background of the book is, so she wanted to do some research on how to find the teachers that teach African American students and how they do it and how they're successful at doing that. So she took nomination from parents. All of the parents wound up being mothers, and she wanted the mothers to give them the teachers that they thought excelled in teaching their students. And so she did this through a community nomination. And then after that, she took principals and colleagues of these teachers to narrow down the vote. After that, she got 22 total teachers identified, and 9 of them were identified by every single person. Of the 9, only 8 said that, yes, you can come in our classroom and do your research because one had personal reasons. So the book is based on 8 elementary teachers at schools in low-income areas, and then also Gloria's experiences with African-American students and as an African-American woman. The next thing is, this was a chart in the book, and it just shows you the teachers. As you can see, there's 8 women, and their race. There was 3 white women and 5 black women. Their years of experience. No teacher had less than 12 years of experience, and she said that was one of the keys to being able to successfully teach African American students through CRT, because we all need that experience to do that. She was like, not that new teachers like we will be are ineffective. Next was a culture of reference, which I found really interesting, because that was just what culture they identify with. And one of the white women, she identified with both black and white culture. And then another one of the white women, she was identified with white culture, but the last one, she identified with a black culture. She had black friends, she went to a black church, all of that. And I found that really interesting because that can just help her in her classroom with African American students. But the reason I was interested in this book was because I went to Saltillo High School in Saltillo, Mississippi, and I never knew that there was a lack of good teaching toward African American students. So I looked at the demographic for Mississippi, and then Saltillo, and then my high school. And so in the state of Mississippi, there's 2,994,079 people, and Saltillo has 5,004 of those citizens, and only 425 of them were black. And so at my high school, this is the year before I graduated, the high school had 810 students, and as you can see on the map, 712 of them were white, and only 76 were black. And so I started thinking about all 4 years in my high school. I never had class with one African American student. So this book kind of broadened my horizons with teaching African American students, because I never knew that it was a problem really. And then so I started thinking about it. I was like, well, that's because I never got to witness that being a problem. So the buzzword for this would be culturally relevant teaching, or I guess buzz phrase. Gloria Lyons defines CRT as questioning and preparing students to question the structural inequality, the racism, and the injustice that exists in society. To unify diversity in the classroom, you must know that just because you instruct does not mean that the student is going to learn. And also, a culturally relevant teacher must be able to teach his or her student to the highest standards and let the student know that they can succeed. And this is, and throughout the book has 7 chapters, and 5 of them is strictly related to culturally relevant teaching. Each chapter has I think 5 to 6 headings of how to culturally relevant teach, and this was just in one of the chapters, and it shows you what a culturally relevant teacher would do, and then what just a regular teacher would do that doesn't really care. And so some of the examples would be: knowledge is continuously recreated, recycled, and shared by teachers and students. It is not static or unchanging. And then a regular teacher is just going to say knowledge is static and is passed in one direction from teacher to student. Another example would be knowledge is viewed critically, where regular teachers are going to say knowledge is viewed as infallible. And then teacher is passionate about the content, and teachers detached, neutral about content, and so on. It goes on in literally 5 chapters, and there's like 20 to 25 ways that you can be a culturally relevant teacher. But that would take a really long time to get over all of the steps. So I put it down into the ABCs. And so in my content area, which is English, I thought of ways that I could make this applicable in my classroom. And so the first would be A, which is to allow and accept. First, I want to allow the student to be bilingual. If they're in a culture and they speak African American English, I'll let them continue to speak that in the classroom because I don't want to hinder them, and also I don't want to put up a wall saying you can't do this because it's deficient or it's not the correct way to speak. By letting the student be bilingual, I would essentially be following the NCTE Standard 4, which states students adjust their use of spoken, written, and visual language, conventions, style, and vocabulary to communicate effectively with a variety of audiences for different purposes. And this kind of stuck out to me when I took Dr. Piser's grammar class here, because I thought I was going to go into the classroom and realize that grammar was just a way of writing better in papers. And when I walked in the class and a couple weeks in, she was like, so you can let your students speak in their own vernacular. And I was just like, what? There's not a correct way to write a paper, a correct way to speak? And I was kind of shocked. And so I was just like, okay, because I know I got a Southern dialect and I don't speak correctly, but when it comes to writing a paper, I don't write like I speak. And so then I went into Starkville High School District, and I was in the 10th grade, and I had a class of 22 students. One was Hispanic, one was white, and the rest were all African American. And they all start talking, and I don't understand what they're saying, and I had to get my teacher to translate basically what they're saying, because I was just like, I don't know what the students are saying. And so I was shocked that she would let them do that, because they were using wrong words that weren't words and stuff, but they understood it. And so I was just kind of wow, why is she letting them do that? And so as I was in the grammar class at the same time, the teacher was let them do that. That's how they are. And so as throughout the year, I got to understand what they were saying. I acclimated to their language, but I was just kind of shocked at first. I was like, how could you let them do such a bad thing? But the next A would be accept. Accept the diversity and the differences in my classroom, and that's do not ignore race. Gloria Lyons in the novel, she says that by saying, you've probably heard people say oh, I'm colorblind, meaning that they don't see color in people, they just see them. And she says that's the wrong way to go about it. Don't say that. She said because by ignoring their race, you're ignoring their culture, and you're ignoring who they are and what makes them them. You're ignoring what makes them different from all the other students, because every one of your students, no matter white, black, Hispanic, any of that, they're all different, and they all have something to offer you and to bring you. She also says, by failing to see their diversity, schools are sucking the life out of the students, and that really struck with me, because it's so true. When I walk into a classroom and I don't see their diversity, then I'm not getting to know them, and I'm not getting to know what they like and who they are as a student and as a person in general. Next would be believe. And this is to believe in the African American students and the other students as well, that they have something to bring you, they have something to offer you no matter what. She has a really big thing about scaffolding on information, because so often we have this idea that when our students come in that they don't know anything, and that we're going to build on, that we're just teaching them something completely new. And she's like, that is not how it is. She said that you need to build on what they know, but first you have to find out what they do know. And I found that really important, because so a lot of you probably had Dr. Gaynor, and one of her things is on the first day of class, she'll tell you to give out an information card, get their birthday, get their hobbies, get whatever they like, and be able to go to that, support them, and believe in them. And by doing that, you're building this relationship with the student that they might not even have at their own home. Especially with African American students. I know one of the women in the novel, one of the teachers, she said that she gets their birthday, and every time it's their birthday, she puts a card on their desk, so when they come in, they get this birthday card. And we might not think that's a big deal, oh, somebody gave me a birthday card, it doesn't have money in it, so I don't really care. But these students, they came back to her years later and was like, that birthday card, you're the only one that told me happy birthday on my birthday. And that struck with me. I was like, oh my goodness, that would make me so sad. But she did that with every one of her students. Nobody felt left out, and they didn't show favoritism to one. They didn't just give one student their birthday card. And so it's just like to believe in your students. Also to show the students that they can succeed and should believe in themselves. I know that to do that, it can be kind of hard because, again, you don't know what they do know and what the standards are in the classroom. Because if you have all remedial students, you got to deal with that. But if you have half remedial and half general education students, like, how do you make that? So they give so many activities in the book, even though they were all elementary activities, but that you can use in the classroom. And one would be to let them read their novels out loud. If you have a classroom novel, just let them read it out loud, get to know how they read and like what they enjoy. Also, the key takeaway of the Believe chapter was to treat students like they already know something. Don't hinder them and make them feel like inferior to you. You should be on almost like equal playing field. Like, let them know that you're human and they're human, and that you know that you might, yes, know more, but you're willing to teach them and let them know that they can know that too. Set high expectations for them. And